Hi fairies, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Phoebe. It's so nice to have you here. I hope you stay a while. It feels like I haven't filmed this so freaking long, but today we are going to be doing a 24-hour readathon. I decided that I would try and film at least one readathon every month, and here we are. I have already done my March readathon and it's currently March 29th. It's March 29th and I have done the March readathon, but I was just in the mood to do another readathon because it feels like I haven't read as much as I really want to this month. But obviously this video will be coming out like in April, so basically this might be the April readathon, whatever. But I decided to kind of like spice it up and make it a little bit more interesting. So in this video we are going to be doing a 24-hour readathon, but we will be reading only new releases. Okay, we will be reading new releases for 24 hours, and honestly I'm so excited because I have a lot that I really want to get into. Like, there are so many amazing books coming out this year that have already come out and even more to come in April. I'm so excited. But yeah, I have a few that I would like to read with you guys in this video, so let's just get right into it. The first book that I want to read and will be reading is rebelwitch by Kristen Sicarelli. Oh my god, this is like one of my most anticipated reads this year. I've been waiting for this ever since I finished the first book in the duology. I think that was in like September, and if you have followed me for like any amount of time, you've probably heard me speak about that book. That was like one of my favorite books that I read last year. I gave it 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I was bawling at the end. And yeah, I've been waiting for the second book because it is a duology and it's finally out. Okay, it actually came out in February, but I don't know, I was just putting it off because I was kind of scared. Like, I feel like it might let me down. That's just how I feel right now, but I am truly excited to see what happens. Obviously I cannot tell you like the synopsis of this book because, to be honest, I don't even know the synopsis of this book. Like, I have no idea where we're going to like go to from where we ended off in the first book, but I will tell you a little bit about the first book if you're interested in this series, this duology, if you would like to get into it. Basically, in this world we have witches and, you know, regular humans, and for a long time the witches have been ruling, but obviously they have been ruling cruelly. Okay, so yeah, there was a rebellion. The regular people overthrew the witches, and the witch hunters just keep hunting witches. They're trying to get rid of as many witches as possible. They're literally trying to make them extinct, essentially. So we have Rune, who is the main character of this book. When she was very young, she was forced to give up her grandmother, who was a witch, just to protect and save herself. Like, it was something they agreed on, and she watched her grandmother like get hung for just being a witch. And obviously she still has that hate for witch hunters in her heart. At that point in time when she was young, she did not know that she was a witch, so it was very easy for her to like, you know, kind of sidestep the whole thing. And she was left with the money that her grandmother did have because she was like a very high, well-known person when the witches were in power. And now she's like this elite socialite, and she's basically just working her way through the court. So now she's grown up. I think she's like 17 or 18, I'm not quite sure, but she poses as this like dumb, unknowing girl by day, you know, walking the courts, going for balls, very like enamored by clothing and fashion and accessory stuff like that. She pretends to be this like very worldly, very materialistic type of person that does not think of anything other than what is on the surface level. But by night she is essentially the Crimson Moth, which is what this duology is called. And the Crimson Moth is basically this vigilante of sorts who tries to save as many witches as possible. So by night she tries to find out where witches are, you know, captured, where they are kept, and she frees them, and she tries to like get them to elope and leave this whole kingdom so they can be safer, because in a lot of other kingdoms and places witches are, you know, legal and allowed to just exist. And then we have Gideon, which I'm not going to lie to you, that is not my favorite male main character name. Okay, it's kind of hard to fawn over him with that name. No offense to all the Gideons out there, but it's just not the sexiest thing ever. No tea, no shade. But we have him. He is essentially a witch hunter, and so Rune is of age to get a husband, and she's trying to get a husband who will help her in her Crimson Moth activities unknowingly. Like, she's trying to get someone that will be able to give her information about where witches are kept, and, you know, dungeons, how to get into, you know, high security prisons, stuff like that. And so she thinks Gideon might be the perfect person, but Gideon also is suspecting her to be the Crimson Moth, so he's trying to trick her as well, trying to like get to know her, find out if she's the crazy moth. She's also like trying to trick him, trying to cut him so she can, you know, benefit as well. So like, is this cat and mouse like trickery type of situation that goes on in the first book, but the way it all unfolds and where we are left off by the end of the first book is just so crazy. And like I said, I'm excited to see where we go from there. So yeah, I've already yapped enough about the first book. I am so excited, but I'm also so scared. I fear this may not be as good as the first book. I have seen some reviews and people are already saying it's not as good as the first book, but to be honest, I think I will enjoy it regardless. So let's just get straight into it. Okay, let's set the timer. We have our timer, and so it begins. Let's get into it. Like, this actually happens 2 months after the occurrences of the ending of the first book, so like we just get right into it. I don't know, I feel like this is going to be quite fast-paced, and honestly I don't know how to feel about that, but I guess we'll see. So I've been reading for about 2 hours and like 10 minutes. The timer is currently at 21 hours and 49 minutes. I have made it like quite far into rebelwitch. I really just like I was just binging it because it really is very bingeable. It's so fast paced, you get right into it. I got to part 2. I don't know if you can see this, and yeah, that's 40% in. And I really like these like inserts at the start of each part, basically giving more information into the world and, you know, the queen, stuff like that. In the first book though, it was like before every chapter. This one is just like before every part, and I think they're like 3 or 4 parts, so it's not as much as the first book, but I still enjoy it. I do have some more thoughts about this book, because yes, it's fast-paced, and yes, I am enjoying it because I personally really love these characters. I do think there are unfortunately some flaws. The writing is not as good as I remember it being. Like in the first book, I just feel like it was way better writing when it comes to like the literary devices that were being used. And you know, I feel like in that book she had a specific way with her words, and this one is just a little bit like, there's some good, you know, hard-hitting one-liners I guess, but it feels a little bit more simplistic and just like not very inspired, and I don't know how to feel about that. I'm not sure if it was a stylistic choice, like if it was intentional, but it just doesn't feel very inspired, and like enough effort was put into the actual writing of this book. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not bad writing by any means, and there are no typographic errors, thank God, but yeah, it just feels a little, I wouldn't say lackluster, but just not as good as the first book currently. It also feels a bit cornier than the first book because we're really honing in on the romance in this book. Okay, this book is like more romance than fantasy. Like, there's still the whole thing with the world and, you know, the world building, but like it's very much focused on the romance. And you know, I'm not against that. I actually really enjoy the romance because I personally really like these characters from the first book. I've loved them, but the dialogue and the way they're just speaking feels a little bit too corny for me right now in this book. The characters don't really feel like themselves. They're not talking or acting the way that they did in the first book, and you know, that's understandable because they are kind of older and they have had more things happen to them and more situations. But like, this is just 2 months after the first book, so why do you just seem like completely different people? I don't know what that's about. I feel like maybe Cigarelli took, you know, some specific character traits that people were really loving and talking about from the first book, and she just like honed into them too much in this book to, you know, placate or, you know, just really go with the TikTok vibes or whatever. And it just feels a little bit disingenuous. The whole cat and mouse thing feels very predictable right now because they're just going back and forth. It's basically the same situation from the first book, but like they actually know, like I don't know how to explain what I'm saying without spoiling the book, but it just feels a little bit predictable and like redundant. at the moment. It's also very, very troopy. Like, we've had a plethora of tropes and I'm not even 50% into it. We've had the like one bed trope and small room trope. We've had the you know, him pressing her against the wall with a knife type trope. It feels very tropey right now. Even their dialogue, the miscommunication in this book, like this book is literally at the moment miscommunication galore. Like, it's actually pissing me off because it can so easily be solved, or whatever issues they are having can so easily be solved if they just like spoke, like just say what's on your mind. But like at the end of the day, it is quite entertaining. Like I said, it's very fast paced. We're just like having different things happen, but at the same time none of it feels like very mind-blowing. None of it feels very like, oh, this is so interesting. It feels a bit predictable. As I've said, I am going to keep reading, of course, because I do love these characters, as I've said, and while I have some issues, I am enjoying the book for what it is at the moment. So yeah, I am going to eat because I took some time to make food, and yeah, I'll get back to reading and I'll let you know whatever my thoughts are. I don't know if I'll update you guys. It depends on how hooked in I am to the book, but I might honestly just finish it in the next few hours, but I will probably update you before then. So yeah.
Take me home, go down the road.
I really have not been updating you guys as much as I should. I'm sorry, okay? I've really just been devouring this book. I have my problems within this book, but I'm also just enjoying it. Like, I'm thoroughly enjoying my reading experience right now. I have just finished chapter 75 and something kind of crazy happened, which was not necessarily shocking to me because I kind of knew that would happen, but it was still kind of, I'm still like in denial, like no way that actually happened. There's definitely something that's going to counteract that. So yeah, I'm actually 94% through the book, chapter 76. Let's finish it here and now.
Out of this place, out in the
Even in death, my love, you are a wonder. That's just beautiful.
in the morning I wait, have you heard? If it's dancing in the rain,
Wait, what the?
staying out late.
I actually did not expect that. I actually did not expect that. Okay. Okay. But like, if she's essentially a god, an ancient, why does she need to do like witch spells? Can't she just do normal random god-like magic? Anyways.
I see clearer roads, they are familiar when I'm with you. And even in the coldest nights, if we're listening or picking fights, in this moment I'm hoping I'm spending it with no one but you.
So the timer is now at 19 hours and 14 minutes and we have in fact finished Rebelwitch by Christine Sicarelli. I actually finished it like about an hour ago and I wanted to take some time to kind of sit with my thoughts, ruminate, and you know, come up with a clear and concise review. Okay, so that's what we're going to get into right now. So the plot of this book was very interesting because it was in fact high stakes, or it should have been high stakes, but the way that it was written made it feel not as high stakes as it was intended to be. Okay, because it was written from this like perspective of love and romance, because romance was in the forefront and it was written so predictably and redundantly. It did not really, you know, give high stakes the way that it probably should have given. Personally though, I really did enjoy the romance because, as I've said, I do love these characters. But I feel like if you did not love the romance in the first book, you're not going to enjoy this book whatsoever, because that was basically the main plot, because it was very cringy and very troopy, like very troopy. Okay, we even got the who did this to you trope. in my opinion, it was kind of unnecessary. I mean, it was necessary, but it was kind of forced. No tea, no shade. But yeah, it was very tropey, cringy, and I was cringing at various points, but I was also giggling and kicking my feet at other points. So yeah, it comes down to personal preference. I do wish we got to see Rune use her magic a little bit more. Like, she's supposed to be this huge hero, the Crimson Moth, you know. I thought we would see her kind of explore her magic and this whole witchery thing, and we just did not get that. She kept using minor spells throughout the entire book. Like, throughout this duology, she only used minor spells. I think she used like a major once or twice, but like, come on. I wanted a little bit more of her magic. Like, I wanted her to go really crazy. Like, we could have even done a kind of training situation where she kind of, you know, grows with her magic and learns how to really use her magic. I know that's kind of overused these days in fantasies, but I think it would have worked well for this book. Just my thoughts. We did not get that, obviously. We just did not get Rune actually being this huge powerful witch that we believe her to be, and I was just like, okay. Also, the magic system of this book was very interesting. Like, from the first book, you're like, oh, this is quite unique. I've never really seen something like this, and you would expect that to be expanded upon in the second book, and it just was not expanded upon. Okay, it was written so predictably and redundantly. Like, she drew the spell mark for torch, she drew the spell mark for invisibility. Like, that's exactly how it was said throughout the book, and I'm just like, come on, we need a little bit more. Like, diversify this thing. At least give us like the actual marks that she's drawing. Okay, say she drew a circle with a this. Like, give us more. I expected more, and we just did not get that. And that kind of emphasized the fact that the world building of this book is not that good. Like, it's very interesting. It would have been so good and cool if it was, you know, more fleshed out and expanded upon, because in theory it is like a very interesting premise, but it just wasn't. So yeah, I just feel like while the book was good, for me it was very entertaining. There were also like a number of plot points that could have been fleshed out a little bit more to make the book, you know, just better in general. So yeah, at the end of the day, I did quite enjoy the book, you know, for what it was. It was a very quick, fast, entertaining read. If you loved the first one, if you loved the characters in the first book and the romance, you would definitely enjoy this one. I really liked the ending. Like, the last few chapters, we got some insights into some things, but still it wasn't fleshed out, you know. Some things were revealed and some things happened that personally did not shock me. I kind of expected most of them, but there was one thing that I just did not expect because I wasn't thinking about it whatsoever. But in hindsight, like, it makes sense. I do wish like we got more with that thing, but it was just like, it just came and went, and I'm like, come on, please, Christine, like, secretly, what the hell are you doing? Flesh this thing out. Like, I know you want a quick, short, nice, easy romantasy for people to just binge and, you know, come and yap about on TikTok, but let's sit down and type a little bit more. Or if you want to write, some people like write their books with an actual pen and paper. Okay, you can do that, but let's expand. Okay, all that being said, I think I'm going to settle on a 4-star for this book. It was not the best thing ever, but I do think it was a good book, an entertaining read, a good, you know, follow-up to the first one, and a good closing out for this duology. So the next book we will be reading is The Rose Bargain by Sasha Payton Smith. This will actually be my first book by this author. I randomly heard about her from Sarah Caroli. She did her video talking about her most anticipated releases of 2025, and she mentioned this book, and you know, I was very intrigued. In this world, we have a queen who is also a god, and she has 2 sons. One is like a legitimate son. He is like a godlike being as well, obviously, and her second son is like a human. He is the son of her human consort husband that she. So then we have our main character. I don't know her name. She is part of this family that was essentially ostracized because of a scandal that happened with her sister. Her sister randomly went missing one day, and she came back like a couple days or something after, and it turns out that, you know, nobody understands where she went, and it's like this whole scandal, like, where did she go, blah 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 blah. So yeah, they barely have any money, whatever. So essentially, the whole thing with this book is that there are seasons. It's like Bridgerton. There are seasons, and women will come of age. When they come of age, they like participate in the season to find husbands. Okay, so this particular season, the queen has announced that her son, her legitimate son, who will be the king eventually, is, you know, looking for a wife. So this is the season where girls can try to get his hand married. Yeah, but it's like they have to go through these trials that are very perilous and treacherous, and yeah, that's all I know. That obviously was very intriguing to me because it is giving like Bridgerton, but also giving Hunger Games. I've heard it's very Regency inclined. It just had all the elements of a story that I would like. So that's going to be our next book. I will be starting it right now, and I will update you whenever I feel the need to. We have 18 hours and 27 minutes left, and I am 21% into The Rose Bargain. I just got to chapter 10. I have some thoughts. I have some opinions because the premise of this book is very interesting. It is. But right now, it feels, how do I say this nicely? Boring. Not boring, okay, just slow. A little too slow for my liking. My attention is not peaked at the moment. Okay, I can give a little bit more insight into the world though. So the queen of this kingdom is actually not a god, she's more of a fairy, okay, and she was able to maneuver her way into being the queen of the human world because, as you know, fairies are very like cunning, they have a way with words, and she was able to make a bargain with somebody, King Edward, and now she's the Queen of England essentially. Every year, as I said, there are seasons, you know, where women that come of age can, you know, present themselves to men, which is obviously crazy, so they can be married. Okay, so this particular year, as I've said, the queen has announced that her son will be choosing a bride, and then we have 24 people that are initially chosen to, you know, kind of contest for the prince's hand in marriage. But then there's a game where they are cut down to literally just 6 of them, and our main character Ivy is one of the 6 who will continue on to contest for the prince's attention so he can ask for their hand in marriage, whatever. It's like a whole thing. But like something that I also find very intriguing is that every year, like as these seasons come, every woman that is, you know, presenting herself to, you know, be married or chosen to be married goes to the queen and she makes a bargain. Okay, so it's like, give me long luscious hair and I will give you my ability to taste bitter things, like things like that, just so they can, you know, make themselves more appealing to the male gaze essentially. We have another situation where there seems to be a rebellion. It's actually taking a lot of like really intricate plots and like plot lines from books that we know and love. It's giving The Selection, even though I've never read that book or that series. It's giving Hunger Games, it's giving Cruel Prince, it's giving Bridgerton. Like, I actually really like the world and I like everything surrounding it, but the writing at the moment, it feels very info dumpy. We're not getting as much dialogue as I personally would like, and I'm just like, girl, I get it, I understand that you are trying to tell us about this world, blah blah blah. It's just a little too slow. Like, let's get to the point, please. It's not a bad book at all. The writing is actually really good. They're like really nice hard-hitting lines that I have seen. There was one I highlighted. Okay, the fun of grace is to watch someone fall from it. That was like the only one I highlighted for some reason, but it kind of just hits me. It was like, ooh, tea, word. So yeah, it's like really good writing, just feels a little bit info dumpy at the moment, and I just would like a little bit more. So yeah, that's all I have to say. I'm going to keep reading. I'll see you guys when I see you. Why is this actually kind of fun? I'm really liking this like games thing that is happening, these selection games essentially. It's just like very much fun, and it's also quite high stakes. Among these 6 girls, obviously one will be chosen to be the princess, and the ones that don't get chosen, something is going to happen. Okay, something is going to happen to them and their lives. Obviously I don't want to tell you because it's a spoiler, I think, but it's like high stakes in that regard. So they are essentially really fighting and working hard to be the winner. Like every girl wants to be the winner, and so obviously they're on opposing sides, but I really feel like there is an opportunity for found family somewhere here. I feel like they could easily all just come together and be friends, and just like it would be the coolest, cutest thing ever, because I can already feel it. I don't know, maybe it's just in my head, but maybe I'm predicting it, like who knows. Wait, Prince Emmett, but also Prince Bram. This is very intriguing. It seems like there could be a love triangle type of situation, but also not really, because in my opinion you can very much tell who's going to be endgame. I'm living, like I'm actually really living for this. Yeah. Just finished chapter 28, and I am now in the chapter called Faith Fairchild. She is one of the 6 ladies that are vying for the prince's attention, so he can marry them or whoever he chooses. For majority of this book, we are in our main character Ivy's point of view, and I actually don't hate her POV because it's not quite as annoying as some fantasy FMCs tend to be. Okay, she's telling us what's happening, but she's also giving us some insight into her thoughts and the inner workings of her mind, but it's nothing like too annoying. Okay, it's nothing whiny, it's nothing complaining, it's just to the point. But I really do like that we are getting some chapters from the POV of some of the other characters. I have just seen from the table of content that we will in fact be getting a Prince Emmett POV. Unfortunately, no Prince Bram POV, which is very interesting, but I am definitely seated in anticipation for Prince Emmett's POV, because I need to know what is going on in that little mind of his. He's not necessarily our main character. I think Prince Bram is also very like prominent in this story, but I love both of them. Honestly, I do love them. I think they are both really good people and good characters. I'm also really liking the book. It's nothing special, it's nothing spectacular. I'm honestly just going with the flow and flowing with the story. It's interesting and intriguing and entertaining enough. Okay, but it's nothing I'm going to be ranting about for years and years, like a lot of my favorite books. I do like the whole Regency England setting. It's one of my favorite settings ever, especially when it comes to fantasy books. I eat it up every time. One of my favorite books actually that I read this year, Half a Soul, is set in Regency England, and I loved that. I love that book. So yeah, I'm excited to actually continue reading. I hope there's something like a plot twist or just something more that we get at the end of this book. Okay, because so far, yes, we have had some reviews and various things, but I feel nothing has really hit me as hard as I would like. Okay, it's just an okay book, like okay, slightly higher than okay, but it's nothing special, and I hope that it would be special when I started reading it. But yeah, whatever happens, I will let you know. Honestly, I'm pretty sure the next update will be the final review, because like I said, I'm 75% through it. I'm just going to sit now and binge it. I actually don't know if this book is like part of a series, if this is going to be a series. I probably should look that up, right? Yes, The Rosebargain by Sasha Payton Smith is the first book in a 2-part romantic fantasy series. The sequel is expected to be released in 2026. Okay, well, that's a long time. But a duology, that's very interesting. I don't know why I felt like this book would have been more fitting for like a series, but honestly, it's good that it's a duology. Nothing too long. Like, we don't need a series, I guess. 1-2 books, wrap it up. I enjoy that, I really do. So yeah, I'm excited to finish this. Not like I'm trying to get it over with, but I am excited to finish it. It's actually taking me longer to read this book than it took me to read Rebelwitch, and Rebelwitch was longer than this book. So that's very interesting. Our timer, by the way, is at 15 hours and 57 minutes. You never really realize how long 24 hours is until you make videos like this. Hours and 30 minutes left, and I did finish The Rose Bargain by Sasha Peyton Smith, and I would say it was a pretty good book for what it was. I quite enjoyed it for what it was. Unfortunately, I did expect more. I did think it would be better than it was, but that was not the case. I had some issues with the writing as well as the pacing. It just felt a little much, unfortunately. And that caused the pacing to just feel weird because it felt slow, but then we had these like really intense things happening and like high stakes situation. I said before, the stakes are very high, and even as we progressed, the stakes got even higher, and yet it was still so freaking slow, and I don't know what exactly the cause of that was. But yeah, also with the romance, I found the romance very interesting because I thought I would love it. I thought I would enjoy it. Okay, we had this kind of love triangle type of situation happening where you have the, golden retriever, very kind, caring guy that would do literally anything for you, but then you're falling in love with the rugged bad boy character with, rumored playboy habits, and yeah, it's just that cliche situation, love triangle situation, and I did not quite enjoy it because I felt like the person that we were supposed to be rooting for, the rugged character, did not give enough for me to be rooting for their relationship. Okay, they barely spent enough time together for her to be feeling the way that she did, in my opinion. They spent time together, obviously, and the time that they spent together, the interactions that they did have with each other, I enjoyed and I was like here for it, but I just felt like it wasn't enough for the way her feelings developed and how she basically fell in love with him. It just felt a little bit forced. I don't know, it felt like she had even more chemistry with the guy that we were not really supposed to be rooting for, but was still kind, but still showed his like true character. Like, it was just very weird. I don't know, but I did like our main character, Ivy. I thought she was very determined and strong. She was not like the annoying FMC you typically have in fantasy romance books. She had her moments, obviously, as a human, but she was still very strong-willed and just pushed through every situation, and she was very like tough, and I really liked that. But I did not really love the romance, and the romance is like almost the main plot because essentially all these girls are vying for the prince's attention so he can pick one of them to marry. I also would have really liked the whole found family situation that was happening with the girls to have been fleshed out, but that was not the case. Like, we got some bits and pieces, but it just wasn't enough, in my opinion. I feel like this book could have been edited down a little bit more, but also fleshed out in various other points. Like, I don't know the intricacies of that, but I feel like there was still work to be done on this book. All that being said, though, I did quite enjoy it for what it was. As I said, it was an okay read, a very nice, enjoyable experience if you're into like Regency romance and fantasy with love triangles. Definitely check it out if you're into stuff like that, like Regency, Bridgerton vibes, but with the bloodlust and blood sport of Hunger Games. Overall, I think I will give this book a 3.5 or a 3.75. I'm going to go what I settled on the screen, obviously, but yeah, it was good, just not my favorite thing ever, and just did not live up to what I expected, unfortunately. And so the next book we are going to be reading in this readathon, the next new release that we have on the docket, is A Sea of Unspoken Things by Adrienne Young. This is a relatively new author to me. I've heard quite a bit about her recently. She released The Unmaking of Joan Farrow, which has been going quite viral in past year. A couple of my favorite booktubers and booktokers have spoken very highly about it and about her writing in general, and I'm excited to get into this book and just like experience her. Okay, I did want to read The Unmaking of Joan Farrow before I got into this book, but I did not have time, and yeah, we're just going to get into this. Okay, I will say it's like 4 a.m. and I have church tomorrow, so I'm not sure how much I'm going to read before I inevitably have to sleep, because yeah, nobody's doing all that. But yeah, whatever happens, I will let you know tomorrow. So good night, love you. Happy Sunday, guys. We have 10 hours and 43 minutes on the clock, and we are 44% through A Sea of Unspoken Things by Adrienne Young. I'm in chapter 11, and this book is so freaking interesting to me. Okay, a rough premise of this book would be that it's basically about this girl called James. Yeah, very interesting name for a girl, but like there's actually a reason why. Obviously I can't tell you that, but she has a twin brother, or she had a twin brother called Johnny, who unfortunately was killed, but like unintentionally. It was an accident, but something just is not adding up. Okay, James and Johnny have always felt like this supernatural pull between themselves, and when Johnny died, she just kept feeling like something was amiss. Even like months before he died, she kept feeling like something was wrong, and basically we have her in this book trying to figure out what really happened and what really went wrong. And there's a lot of like, not really supernatural, but like spiritual, mind-boggling type of things happening. There's also this other guy called Micah, who was like their best friend from childhood. 3 of them grew up together. They used to do everything together, but somehow something happened and they had to go their separate ways, because our main character James had to leave the little town that they all lived in and make a life for herself outside of all that. And then something happened to cause that. Like, it's a whole thing. Obviously I can't tell you much because I don't want to spoil it, but I'm really loving this book, especially for the writing. Okay, I did not expect Young's writing to be so incredibly masterful. Like, this is like actual prose. This is like actual literary intentional prose, and I am so freaking here for it. The writing is so freaking good. At some point it was feeling a bit wordy and like info dumpy, and some people might call it that. I mean, it depends, but in my opinion it really made sense with the like plotting and the pacing, and you know, just trying to set things up and let you in to this world and this story. This book would be classified as something of a mystery, not really thriller, but like a magical realism mystery type of book. And honestly, I'm just really loving it. I will say it's not as fast-paced as I would like, and you know, I would like things to, you know, progress a little bit quicker, but I am really enjoying it. And also because the writing is so good, and because I am so personally enamored by the writing, I'm really just taking my time with it. Okay, I'm not rushing anything. I'm literally reading every single word and just ingesting it, and I am just really enjoying my reading experience with this book. The next new release that I want to read in this video is Out of the Woods by Hannah Bonham Young, but it's part of an interconnected series, like the Out series, I believe that's what it's called, and the first book was Out on a Limb. And I did start this book earlier last week so that I can read this new release in this video, and I made it like 70% through it. I didn't DNF it,
but I just kind of got over it. Okay, it just, personally, if you have been watching my videos, you know that I'm not the biggest fan of romance books. They just like cringe me out a lot. It's very hard for me to not cringe out when it comes to actual contemporary romance books, and this book definitely is quite cringy, but I'm like enjoying it. It's not the worst thing I've ever read. It just wasn't the best thing, and I just dropped it for the moment, but I think I'm going to pick it up. It's not a new release, obviously. I'm going to try and finish it so that I can start Out of the Woods, because I really think I will like Out of the Woods. So yeah, the books I'm going to be reading right now are A Sea of Unspoken Things and Out on a Limb. So I will update you whenever I have anything more to say. So it is Monday, and I did finish A Sea of Unspoken Things by Adrian Young, as well as Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young, which is very interesting that they have the same last names. But yeah, I wanted to give my final thoughts on those two books. As far as A Sea of Unspoken Things goes, I really did like it. Okay, my favorite part about it was the writing. I thought the writing was so freaking beautiful, so freaking intentional, like very much lyrical, very much thought through, but also still straightforward and to the point, nothing too like over exerting, and I just genuinely enjoyed the writing. I also quite liked the story and the plot in general. I thought it was like very interesting. I did not love the pacing. It felt quite slow at some points, and it was like not keeping my attention throughout, but in general I really did like the story. This book is a mystery for the most part, but the romance is also a huge part of the story, and unfortunately I feel like I did not love the romance as much as I would have liked to. Okay, I think it's because they were already friends, like since they were very young, and they knew basically everything about each other already, so we didn't really get the chance to kind of, you know, have them build something. We didn't get like a meet cute, we didn't get to see them learn about each other, learn about what they like, what they dislike. Like we didn't get to actually see the build up of their friendship as well as relationship. Okay, and I really would have liked for that to happen. I know that they knew each other for a long time, and I don't hate like, you know, friends lovers or childhood friends lovers. I don't necessarily hate it, but I feel like if you really want us to fall in love with who they are right now, you should show us them building a relationship as who they are in present day. Okay, I feel like they were just hung up on what they had in the past, and yes, obviously that is like a huge part of, you know, what is bringing them together, but I feel like in current day they didn't really have much tethering them together, and so it just did not resonate with me as much as I would have liked, unfortunately. Regardless though, I quite enjoyed it. I loved how this book touched on grief and, you know, relationship with siblings, relationship with family, people outside of family. Like it was just very interesting, very intricate, very like thought through, and I just enjoyed all of it, to be honest. I think I'm going to settle on like a 4-star or a 4.25. I'll let you know on the screen, obviously. But yeah, it was a really, really good book, really great writing, really great story. I just feel like more could have been done. As for Out on a Limb, this is a romance, a contemporary romance following Win and Bo. Bo is a finance bro essentially, and unfortunately he got cancer. He had to get his leg decapitated. And then we have our female main character Win, who from birth was disabled in her right arm, and you know, she has had to live with that her entire life. She's very, very confident in that, to be honest, which I very much loved. And I do love the like inclusivity and the disabled, you know, representation in this book. I also, like, from the author's note, saw that the author Hannah Bonham Young also has like a disability in her arm, so I really like that she was kind of showing that and, you know, including that in her work. So one random Halloween, at the Halloween party that Win's best friend Sarah throws, Bo and Win meet each other and they have a one-night stand. Okay, and it's like the best one-night stand ever for the both of them. And weeks later, Win finds out that she is in fact pregnant. So obviously she lets Bo know. He's like very interested in being a part of the child's life, a part of the whole pregnancy, you know, term. He wants to be as involved as possible, and so we just watch them build a relationship as, you know, they are doing all these pregnancy things together. As far as the actual story goes, it wasn't my favorite thing ever, because like I guess we are just following them along this pregnancy and they do fall in love. Obviously it's a romance. That's not a spoiler. We are finally done with this 24-hour readathon, guys. The timer did go off. Okay, I was not able to get it on camera, so you're going to have to take my word for it, but it did go off and I was able to finish Out on a Limb by Hannah Young. This was an okay book, to be honest. I don't have any like intense intricate thoughts about it because it was just okay. For the most part, I did not really care, and that's like very surprising to me because, like I said, this book follows the side characters from Out on a Limb, and I thought those characters were so interesting in Out on a Limb. They were so like funny, they had so much personality, and I was excited to see a book, you know, showing their full lives, but it just did not deliver quite as much as I would have liked. Unfortunately, I just think the whole, you know, marriage to separated to, you know, getting back together type of trope is not for me necessarily, because I don't really get to see you guys, you know, meet up, learn about each other, grow together. It just feels like it already happened and I'm being told about it. Like, I want to see what is going on, and that was not the case, unfortunately. These characters have literally been dating and married for so freaking long, like I'm pretty sure almost like 18 years or so. And like obviously in a situation like that, you tend to get tired or bored or like just feeling like you never really lived your life outside of this person and outside of this relationship, because it has just been so freaking long. They've been dating since they were teenagers in high school, like high school sweethearts. They didn't get to do anything before that, so yeah, we are just watching them kind of grapple with that, you know, struggle with that fact. They are like trying to get separated but also trying to stay together, so they go on this camping trip that is supposed to heal relationships essentially. It's like very fun, I guess, very adventure filled, but it just did not grip me as much as I would have liked, and the romance just was not my favorite thing ever, to be honest. The writing too was quite okay, very much cringy at various points, and as I said, I cringe very easily, so I was very much like, oh, you know. So like I think it was an okay book for what it was, an okay romance. I guess I didn't completely hate it, I just did not really care. But like, take this with a grain of salt, because I am somebody that generally does not like romance and contemporary romance. You could definitely absolutely love this book. I just think there were some things that could have been more fleshed out. We could have had more insight into their like past lives, and we did get that, but it felt like it was more about the FMC and her relationship with her family and her mother rather than the relationship with this man. So yeah, I'm going to settle on a 3-star. I think it's on like the same level I'm playing as Out on a Limb. And yeah, that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of the books that we spoke about or read in this video. I would really like to know if you shared any of the same opinions as me, or if you didn't quite agree with some of my opinions. If you would like to get into some of these books, just talk to me in the comments. I love reading and replying comments. It's one of my favorite pastimes. And yeah, thank you guys so much once again. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.